may or may not have been part of a Sunday school class this morning that saw these circulated throughout in an attempt to promote an atmosphere that is dedicated to prayer on Sunday nights, which for those that were here, God bless you, in my opinion, it was a tremendous step forward into a new work for us to just dedicate the Sunday night 6 o'clock hour to prayer. These request cards, if you'll fill one out and get it to me or Nicolette before tonight, it will appear in the slides that happen on the screens. Now, you may not even look up during the time you're here, but if you're here and you kind of want to pray for next, prayer requests are up there. We're going to continue to add things in there to promote an atmosphere of prayer. More things for you to think about and pray about, and it'll continue to. So I think it's not going to be exactly what it was last week, but it'll be that and a little bit more. And so we want you to plan to come. But if you need to get a prayer request to us before then, so it appears on that screen, please bring it, and we'll do that. And any updates or corrections, and then weeks to come, we'll add praise reports that we can also thank God for when we put those things up there. So prayer meeting tonight at 6. Please come.
You are my strength when I am weak. You are the treasure that I seek. You are my all in all. Seeking you as a precious jewel, Lord, to give up might be a fool. You are my all in all. Jesus, Lamb of God, worthy is your name. Jesus, Lamb of God, worthy is your name. Walking around these walls, I thought by now they'd fall, but you have never failed me yet. Waiting for change to come, knowing the battle's won. For you have never failed me yet. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never failed me yet. Holy, 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 holy is the Lord our God Almighty, one who was and is to
I would love for you to take a spiritual note, a study, an academic note as well, of one that if you were to look in your Bible, you were to start to encapsulate some bookend truths. Now, you know what bookends are, right? The other thing, this is on either end of the shelf that holds the books, right? Well, oftentimes the Bible is filled with these moments of one piece of information given here, and you look further down the road and you say, wow, that's amazing how those two things tie together. And they hold the whole bit of context together. You realize that the character witness that you have in your life will oftentimes be completely tested. If you make a bold testimony about your convictions and your beliefs and your lifestyle, people will be with you, and they will ask the people around you if it's real or not. And so the second piece that I want you to see now in the layer, you've got disbelief, and now you have ignorance. They run side by side, by the way. They are like playful children, disobeying their parents. Disbelief and ignorance. Running amok. Unsupervised. Ignorance and disbelief everywhere you look. This is also a problem in the world we live in, is the rampant amount of ignorance that is promoted as intelligence. Let me be the first person to warn you. If your news feed is Facebook, or your news feed is TikTok, or your news feed is Twitter or Instagram, you do not have credible news feeds. We don't know. And they would rather be ignorant. Why would they rather be ignorant? The next verse tells us this. The parents said these things because they feared. And here's the third misbehaving attribute of a society that is unraveled. You have disbelief, you have ignorance, and you have fear. And they are a triplet or a trio of troubles that we have to recognize and reconcile in this passage. And I love how the truth is going to absolutely devastate this. And so when I say that disbelief and ignorance and fear, when they get together, they oftentimes have a brainchild, and when it's born out of it, it's called plotting. And there's a plan that's laid in place to deal with our inability to believe, our lack of knowledge, and our fear of what could possibly become. So we create a plan to deal with things. Does this sound like a model that is present in our society? We have a group of people on either side that don't believe in anything the other side believes in. We flood the gates with ignorant information, or lack thereof, and people just run around promoting their ignorance, and as a result, it promotes fear in everyone. So then a plan is laid, real easy, slid in there and says, and this will be our plan. If you follow the thing that is truth, you'll be kicked out. Part of the way that you know and can foundationally build your life upon a miracle is when you know that no man was capable of producing the thing that transformed you. And you know that it was Jesus alone. That it was his work on the cross that freed you from your sin, that resurrected your dead self into a living life. And then you get to promote it to the world and say, it's not something else. They are trying to, in a very uncomfortable way, disconnect the Old Testament from what is happening that will be described as the New Testament in the future. They are trying to unhitch them. The funny thing about that is the movement today in religious circles is they're trying to disconnect the New Testament from the Old Testament, trying to get rid of the Old Testament, and I don't understand that either. And this is exactly the building block that I would hope to introduce to you as a pastor. When you start to tell people about Jesus, you don't have to know everything there is to know about Jesus to talk about Jesus. You just have to know what happened to you. Start there and build on it. Verse 26. Then they said to him again, what did he do to you? How did he open your eyes? And man, it's like, all of a sudden, verse 27, it's like, the man who was born blind. I wish we had his name because I get tired of calling him the man who was born blind. He gets like fierce in this next verse. Read it with me. Verse 27. He answered them, I told you already, and you did not listen. Why do you want to hear it again? And I love the last line. I love it because it's subtle, but it's there. Do you also want to become his disciples? And as an interrogator, I'm listening in my head and I'm going, he said also, meaning that he subscribes to Jesus. That he is liking and following the Messiah.